What we set out first, originally, was to do the first global estimate of plastic in the ocean, in all 5 oceans. That's what we're called 5 gyres because of that, because there's 5 major gyres.
Last November, National Aquarium caught up with Steve Wilson, formerly of 5 Gyres, and Julie Lawson, director and co-founder of Trash Free Maryland, who were busy sampling the Chesapeake Bay waters for microplastics.
I'd say the ultimate goal of 5 gyres is firstly to really understand the scope of the problem, both from an at-sea or watershed standpoint, and then use that data to serve as evidence for solving problems upstream.
It's just after sunrise, and we're aboard a 42-foot sailboat. The air is cold, and Steve is below deck, bundling up for the day's work.
The first day, we found some of the highest counts of shredded plastic sheeting and bags and that sort of thing that I've ever seen anywhere in the world. And I'll say that anecdotally because we haven't analyzed it in a lab yet, but just visually it was startling.
Topside, Julie is helping to set up the Manta Trawl, a device the team will be using to sample the water.
I'll say another thing we found, especially on Wednesday, it was very obviously microbeads. Very tiny plastic, smooth round plastic pellets that are in personal care products and in toothpaste. They're used for exfoliants. They're made of polyethylene, so they were sinking yesterday in the rougher seas. But on Wednesday, if you look in the samples, you can very clearly see these white and blue, perfectly round balls, very tiny. They're too small to be captured by most wastewater treatment facilities, and so they're literally washing down the drain and straight out into the water.
All the plastic that has been made exists in some form still today. It became sort of widespread use, single-use plastics in the 70s as sort of a convenience item, originally targeted at stay-at-home mothers or homemakers to give them the illusion that this was going to make your life easier, that if you use disposables, you didn't have to wash dishes or that sort of thing. And so it was both sort of a brilliant and very sexist marketing scheme, and then wide-scale adoption occurred really quickly. So the one thing that gives me hope is it demonstrates that if we go from a reusable to a disposable paradigm shift in behavior, we can always go back.
According to Steve and Julie, per capita consumption of plastic in the United States is 326 pounds per person per year. That's almost a pound of plastic a day.
So we decided to do this expedition in Chesapeake Bay and bring folks with microphones pointing out in your face out into the water to see this issue. Hopefully we're able to show you something in a little bit once we get upwind a bit. Yeah, the conditions aren't great today, but you'll get a good idea of what we're talking about.
The waves are excessive, and it takes a group effort to launch the device.
1, 2, 3, blast!
The device the team uses to sample the surface of the water is called a Manta Trawl. As Steve points out, the best way to describe it is to picture, well, a manta ray.
You basically have a mouth with 2 wings. The wings are used for flotation, and what you do is you drag it along the side of the boat so it's in open water and not being affected by the boat wake. The water enters in the front and it seams out the net into the back into a sock at the end. And then when you pull it out, you detach that sock, and that's where your sample is.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Record the position. Right, we need a screwdriver.
And the screwdriver is... I see on the sink.
Alright, let's see what we got.
Due to rough seas, our sample is not as dense as those found earlier in the week. However, plastics are still visible to the naked eye. This is startling. The Trash Trawl team has really just skimmed the Chesapeake surface for a few miles and already come up with visible microplastics.
There's a piece of fishing line. I think most of what we're going to be looking at is really buoyant plastic, so my guess is this is styrofoam. I mean, I'm still detecting visibly maybe 20 different pieces, which for the size of the ocean we're sampling is still, fairly significant. It means, you're never going to get clear water without plastic in it.
Water bottles, grocery bags, and as mentioned earlier, microbeads all can make their way into our waterways. These materials are not only dangerous for the environment, but are consumed by fish, eventually ending up on dinner tables around the world. Scary, yes, but according to Julie and Stiv, the problem is not unsolvable.
If you look at it, if you started using reusables, you could eliminate about 50% of the plastic that is entering the market every year. One person consumes 400 water bottles per year, countless plastic bags, 500 million disposable straws are used in the U.S. per day. That's about 1.5 per person. So if you avoid some of those very, very simple disposable things, you can cut your plastic footprint in half overnight.
To learn more about the issue, upcoming testing activities, and how you can help, visit trashfreemaryland.org or aqua.org.